Welcome everybody, welcome back to Sydney Winston's channel. I am Sydney Winston, off camera right now, but essentially the reason I have started this particular broadcast is to update where we are on the issue of the submersible. As you can see, there's now about 30 hours of air left. 30 hours. But that's not really what I want to talk to you about. I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. If I can find it. Here we go. Let me just get, sorry, my windows are messed up. And let me just fix another one here. All right, check this out. Check this out. Let me just make it big. All right, there we go. All right, so we're with the BBC. And let me see if I can make this a little bit more personal. And if not, why not? Oh. There we go. That should do it. Probably more like it should look there, and don't worry about that. Let me bring these guys down a bit as well. Oops. That should work out fine. So, to get back to this submersible, this Titan, I'm getting two different conclusions, or two different avenues to go down. The first thing I wanted to point out was, let me see if I can find it. Was this. Contact was lost with the sub 1 hour and 45 minutes into its 2-hour dive. So it left in the morning at 8 a.m. for a 2-hour dive. Excuse me, I have an itchy nose. It could be the dogs or the allergies, or I don't know. Anyway. So it leaves at 8 o'clock in the morning for a 2-hour dive. Contact was lost with the sub 1 hour and 45 minutes into its 2-hour dive. That means there were only 15 minutes left of the dive before it reached the surface, and that was the end of it. But contact was lost 15 minutes before. And if memory serves me correctly, the support ship on top didn't call for emergency assistance until about 5:45 that evening. So think about it. 15 minutes from the top, loses contact, nothing is done for the rest of the day. So that's 8, and it would have been back by 10. So 9:45, it loses contact. the signal for emergency is sent out, or for help assistance is sent out at 17:45. Okay, if I'm wrong about these times, then I'm going to be very apologetic. But this is what I remember. So this is what crossed my mind, and it horrified me when I thought about it. But I'm sure it can't be the case. Although, let me put it to you like this. Let's say the thing is just about to go up. The submersible is just about to head up towards the top, to the surface, and it loses communication like it did. But let's assume that the submersible made its way to the surface. Just did everything it could, made its way to the surface. It's choppy, it's dark a lot of the time, the weather's choppy, the little submersible is if it's floating on there, it's a white thing, and all these little white splashes and breakers and laps, and because of the wind, it's just you can't tell unless you've got some serious electronics out there. But the horrifying thing that crossed my mind is, what if this thing is bobbing on the surface, but they're unable to open an air hole? They bolt it in, but do they have access to open up an air hole for themselves, on the condition that when they hit the surface, they're just got to wait to be rescued? And if we assume they got 30 hours left of bobbing up and down the surface and just haven't been found, then there's probably a good chance that they will be found. But at this point in time, it's well into the dark period of the day in that area. Yeah, so daylight pretty soon. So if they're going to find that submersible, they're going to find it today. They're going to find it the 21st of June, 2023, which is not today, which is tomorrow for me. Now, according to the U.S. Coast Guard estimates, but at the time this was, this is 45 minutes. This is 45 minutes old. This post. The U.S. Coast Guard estimates the Titan has roughly 30 hours of oxygen remaining on board. An hour ago, now it's 29. This is something that is new to me. An underwater sonar search on Tuesday picked up banging sounds from the missing sub. CNN and Rolling Stone magazine are reporting. CNN, really? The outlets are citing internal U.S. government memos, with Rolling Stone reporting an email sent to the Department of Homeland Security leadership. The BBC is seeking comment from the department. Banging sounds heard from the missing sub. That means they've located it. It's just so fucking confusing. I don't understand why they waited so long. If the thing was 15 minutes from, if the sub was 15 minutes from being expected to emerge from beneath the ocean, and it doesn't, and you've lost contact with the thing for the last 15 minutes, and you don't call it in for 7-8 hours. I think there's going to be somebody on that ship that's on the control ship who's going to be in deep trouble. Deep, 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 deep trouble. Because there might not be anything wrong with the ship. It might have made itself way up to the top, and it's bobbing along waiting for rescue. Because no one's ever spoken about the actual length of the trip, which is reported to be 2 hours. 1 hour and 45 minutes into the trip, the submersible lost contact with the control ship. What happened after that on the control ship, I would like to know. Alright, this is 15 minutes old. The US media is reporting emails which say a Canadian search aircraft detected banging in 30-minute intervals coming from the area where the sub disappeared. It is unclear when and how long the banging lasted. The internal memos reported by both Rolling Stone and CNN say the P-8 Seacraft deployed sonar buoys which reported a contact in a position close to the distress position. Oh, okay, that's how they get the readings. The P-8 heard banging sounds in the area every 30 minutes. 4 hours later, additional sonar was deployed and banging was still heard. I hope it's calm. Bang, 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 just keep it up, guys. Just don't expend too much energy. We don't have that much air. The Boston Coast Guard, which is leading the search and rescue effort, has declined requests for comments on the reported banging sounds. So, what are we supposed to do with that information as consumers of the news? What are we supposed to do with it? And that's the latest that we heard. The latest that we're getting is banging sounds. 30 hours of oxygen left, and that's it. All right, let me get to the chat. Adam, good to see you again, man. Let's bring you in. All right, let me read your input, okay? Adam, banging sounds heard from the sub apparently earlier on Tuesday. Okay. Does this mean the sub's intact? Yeah, I never for 1 second thought it wouldn't be intact, but I'm thinking that I was saying earlier that what if it made its way to the top? But what if it didn't? Why did it take so long for them to call for emergency help? This is what I don't understand. Now, if somebody can verify that, it's probably in this BBC post stream there that I can pick it up. But yeah, something's not right. Could have been the vessel that brought them there doing a cock up, and the submarine is bopping, waiting for rescue. So yeah, exactly. I think that the surface vessel, somebody messed up big time. That's what I think. Somebody was asleep at the helm, as it were. Let me go that. I wonder, can you see it if you do that? You see it? So I haven't come across any like live reporting. But let me try the CBC. What we know about who is on the missing. Let me give this a click. See if it's something we want to know. What we know, who's on the missing. That's old news because they know exactly who's on there. How remotely operated vehicles might help find the Titan. See, this is 3 hours ago. This is not like up to the minute news. Live reporting is the best we can do. Is what we're getting from. Is what we're getting from the BBC. Surely that can't be the case. I mean, this is a big, huge, major story. And very serious major story. Let's go back to BBC and wait. Well, why don't we just do a search and see what we come up with. Let's see. Live. 14 minutes ago. 29 minutes ago. There's nothing live. News. Oh man, there's nothing like that. It's almost like they're waiting till the last minute to, start reporting stuff. CNN, it's all Titan. Everything's from 15 minutes ago, 32 minutes ago, 49 seconds ago. Has the submersible been found? No. Obviously not. This is all just what's this, live updates from ABC News. Ah, I don't think so. This is not live updates. This is very all right. Now I'm looking down. Now we're getting a different story from ABC News. ABC News is saying that the deep sea vessel operated by OceanGate Expeditions lost contact about an hour and 45 minutes after submerging on Sunday morning with a 96-hour oxygen supply. The United States Coast Guard, in coordination with the Canadian Coast Guard and the Canadian Armed Forces, immediately launched a search and rescue operation for the 21-foot sealed craft named Titan. So, immediately, hold on a second. First, now I'm working with between like 10 and 5, which is 7-8 hours from the time it was reported, from the time it was supposed to emerge and the time assistance was called for. But this is saying that it was sent out immediately. So another little bit of cross posting in reporting, if that makes sense. Latest headlines. Pinned. What have we got here? Oh, here we go. 10:15. That's like 2 hours ago. All right. So, yeah, I've got my. Okay. Okay. Somewhere where it said it was a 2 hour dive, that seems to not be correct. Because according to this timeline, at 8 a.m. on Sunday, the submersible launches, and it's supposed to resurface at 3 p.m. Okay, so this makes it even more weird. So 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. is 8 hours. It's 7 hours. So 1 hour and 45 minutes into a 7 hour tour, the submersible loses contact with the surface vessel. It doesn't surface at 3 p.m. like it is supposed to. And it looks like only at that time or after that time was assistance called for. So for most of the scheduled journey, there was no communication. It was cut. It was gone. Something's not right. At 5:40 p.m., so it was supposed to. There you go. I always said it was 5:40 p.m. Coast Guard receives report of overdue submersible. There you go. So, okay, so they lost contact at 9:45 a.m. The Coast Guard was contacted at 5:40 p.m. the same day. 9 hours. It took the surface vessel 9 hours to contact the Coast Guard after it lost contact with the submersible. 9 hours. I'm thinking there's a lot more to the story than we are being than we are being led to believe. I do not trust anything I read. I do not trust the media. I do not trust. Well, as you can tell, there's a mistake along the way, back there somewhere, where I read that it was a 2 hour. In fact, I read it from the screen. It's a 2 hour scheduled trip, but it's not a 2 hour scheduled trip. It's a 7 hour scheduled trip, or 8 hours, whatever. 7 hour, I think. But if I can go back to the BBC. Let me refresh. See, they've taken away the 30 hours left. Hold on, maybe it says so here. Oh no, it's still there. Less than 30 hours of oxygen left. Who's piloting this thing? This Paul Henry, this guy? Is he the pilot? there's the owner, Stockton Rush. He's the owner of OceanGate, which owns the Submersible. In how many ways can we interpret Stockton Rush's going down with the ship? What if he was in financial trouble and he didn't have the resources um, for the kind of mechanical maintenance that this submersible needs, the kind of safety um, equipment installed, redundancy wherever possible? I'm not sure if any of that is actually if any of that is actually if anything was actually covered. I don't think so. But the thing that bothers me more is, how do we find out if, when the submersible does reach the surface, waiting for rescue, does the crew inside have a way to open a vent and get some air? And not have to rely on the air that's in the submersible while they're surrounded by air on top of the water. That's what I'd like to know, because that would be the worst way to go. You know, at least if you're underwater and you've got no air, there's a way you can process it. But if you're on top of the water, bobbing there, and you've got no air because of the design of this thing that you bolted into, you must just go crazy. Oh, you know what? People have suffered in so many ways over so many millennia, whether it's by adventure, whether it's by thuggery, whether it's just by random violence. People die. And I feel sorry for this kid who was on that submersible. You know the story of that guy? He was on there with his father. And his father was a very wealthy businessman. So this kid, 19 years old, okay? Just think, he's 19 years old, and he's about to get onto a submersible to go and see the Titanic. And he's sitting there in the submersible, so he gets in there with the owner of the submersible company. He gets in there with his billionaire father. He gets in there with the billionaire adventurer. And he gets in there with the very experienced naval person. Oh, there's a new bulletin. Banging was still heard 4 hours after the first detection. So let me read. The internal U.S. Department of Homeland Security memos being reported say the banging sounds could be heard for hours. After the initial pickup, additional sonar was deployed to the area 4 hours later, where banging was still heard. CNN is also reporting an updated memo sent Tuesday night, which suggested more sounds were picked up. Additional acoustic feedback was heard and will assist in vectoring surface assets and also indicating continued hope of survivors, said the second memo, according to CNN's report. Well, I'm going to say right now that I'm rooting for these guys. I'm rooting for the crew. I'm rooting for them to survive. But back to this son, this 19-year-old kid who's just got into this submersible with four other people who are highly skilled uh, at what they do, which is uh, piloting, building these submersibles, which is in the business dealings of his billionaire father, who he's going to inherit everything from, whatever it is, I don't know, and with the billionaire adventurer guy who will be, telling stories to everybody. This kid, 19 years old, gets into this submersible, and they take off, and it's fucking great. It's an hour into it, and it's an hour and a half into it. Who knows? Maybe it isn't great. Maybe there's some serious argumentation going on down there. Maybe. Because are there any recordings? Does the surface vessel keep recordings of the internal conversations? Is it possible? I don't think they have the... Well, they must have, because they lost communications. So what were they talking about, and is there a recording of those communications that they lost? Is, I guess, what I was trying to say. Because if there is a recording, then we'll be able to try and guesstimate the ambience in there. But I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, that the father of the son is Pakistani. And I think that Pakistani is another word for volatile. So I'm leaving all options open, but I am going to, I might be wrong, and I might have to, if necessary, state so publicly, but I would point to the Pakistani as being a person more of interest than anyone else. Perhaps him and his son were fooling around, who knows? Because Pakistanis have got egos that are so fucking huge. They're like overinflated balloons that one little pinprick pops the whole thing. Gone. That's how. And then they become fucking, not Tasmanian devils, because that's not in Pakistan, but they become Pakistani devils. Like, I'm not saying these two down there did it, but you know what Pakistan is like. It's like a country filled with people with egos that are overinflated. Pop an ego, humiliate somebody, something, call your mother, your sister, the this, the that, the other. It's time to kill. That's the way they think. And it's really because of the enforced religion of Islam in Pakistan. But that's as far as I'll go with Pakistan and Islam tonight. I really do hope these guys are rescued, that they survive, because just imagine the stories that are going to come out of this submersible. That's all sports. I mean, Adam. Talking about Adam, all sports fan. I get it, but are you from North America? Are you from, okay, let me ask you this. If you're from North America and you're a sports fan, you like hockey and football and baseball and NASCAR and whatever. That's if you're in North America. But if you're an all sports fan from the United Kingdom, you like soccer, you like cricket, you like rugby, you like darts, there's a whole difference. So I don't know which part of the Atlantic you're from. However, I can tell you one thing, that I live in Canada, but I'm a huge Arsenal fan from the Premier League in London. Have been since I was a kid. Very shortly after I hit my teenage years, a couple of years later, I discovered Arsenal and have been a fan ever since. What if they find the sub and only one survivor, the 19-year-old, and violence happened on him? Yeah, we could become Agatha Christie mystery killer writers. People would have a absolute ball with us if they had this little bit of a background, and then they could make up stories to cover what we don't know or cannot know. And then, of course, if they're not found, if they all unfortunately don't make it, then they become heroes, and there will be so many thoughts and prayers going around America for these people. Thoughts and prayers will be everywhere. And you know what they will be? They'll probably make the person who say, I'm praying, or my thoughts and prayers, they'll probably make that person feel a little better for a little bit, but it won't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It's almost like don't say it, just think it. Don't say thoughts and prayers, just think thoughts and prayers, and it's best to say nothing. Nothing. Or say something that meaningful, like I share in your sorrow. That means that at least you showing that there's something more than just words. I share in your sorrow. And that's a nice way to say, I'm sorry for your loss. Sharing your sorrow. But thoughts and prayers, come on, man. It's not very civilized. Well, nothing happening on... I don't know how they're going to find anything for another few hours. Well, we've got banging here right now. That's about it. There's really nothing else. This is dead slow. So I think what I'm going to do then is make everything go bye-bye, or make us go bye-bye. And we will try later on to pick up on the story. Hopefully the story's still going. So if you have been with me throughout, all the way to the end, I salute you and I thank you. And I will try and get back on ASAP and pick up from where we can, okay? This could be a very happy outcome. It could be a very sad outcome. And we're not going to know that until 10 minutes from now or 20 hours from now. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being the only one who participated in the chat. And we'll see you in a little while.